So it's the mid-1900s, you're a kid growing up in New York in the lower class and you spend your childhood seeing your parents struggling to make ends meet. They worry about making rent, they pinch pennies at every corner, and you think to yourself that there has to be something better than this, that I never want to be poor again. And then you see these local wise guys, Mafia members hanging around your neighborhood. They wear expensive suits, drive classy cars, get all the girls, have all this money and look successful, people respect them, and they command fear. Basically, they're everything your parents aren't. So you start to idolize them and come to the conclusion that the
Walker man is a sucker, Dad. He's a sucker.
Why would I want to go to school and join the rat race just to end up like my parents when I can join the most powerful crime organization the world has ever seen? An organization so powerful that at the height of the golden years of the mob, the 5 main mafia families were equal to the size of the top 10 US corporations at the time.
They controlled trucking, the ports, the garbage business, and a lot of the meat, produce, and fish markets. Much of the building trade is in their hands. The carpenters and electrical unions. They have judges on their payroll and police in their pockets.
So you set your mind on becoming a mafioso. The only problem is, being that they're the most successful criminal organization in the world, their inner workings, how to join the mafia and move up the ranks, are veiled in secrecy. So if you want to become a successful mobster, you gotta learn the economics of the mafia.
You know, what is the Mafia, La Cosa Nostra, as we call it here in America?
Cosa Nostra is a cult.
Everything that they do is about making money illegally.
No criminal organization in the history of our country has ever infiltrated legitimate institutions of society the way the Mafia was able to do.
The mafia is a business, but obviously they're not like many other businesses. See, a typical business makes money by providing value to the world by solving customers' problems. Amazon provides value through a huge selection, fast shipping, among other things. Google provides the value of offering the entire human race's collective knowledge at your fingertips. So these companies get paid money in return for the perceived value they give out to the world, which makes their owners filthy rich, as it should. The problem is, providing honest value is kind of difficult. For the most part, you have to work honestly. You have to abide by these silly laws and regulations. This is where the mafia has an advantage. Instead of making money through providing value, they make money by doing the exact opposite, through taking value.
You don't got my money? You don't got my f***ing money, huh?
So you can think of the mob as sort of an anti-business. An anti-business that isn't restricted by the plebeian laws legitimate businesses are held to. Out of all the different ways they make money, also known as rackets, say protection money, infiltrating labor unions, or just some good old-fashioned robbery, most of them revolve around taking value from people by force. Take the classic protection racket, for example. Mob members go door to door to mom and pop shops, and instead of solving a problem they already have, they create a problem for them and offer the solution. You have to pay us $100 a week so we can protect you from those no-good criminals who will break your windows, vandalize your property, rob you, and maybe even hurt your family. If they accept, great, you're now bringing in $400 per month in pure unadulterated cash flow. If they don't, well then, maybe their windows would be conveniently shattered the next day by some pesky criminals. This is what's called the broken window fallacy. Get 100 brick and mortar stores under your protection, and you have nearly $500,000 coming in every single year just from one of your rackets without having to provide any value. When the mafia isn't taking value from people, their other rackets operate kinda like legitimate businesses, providing value to customers by selling illegal stuff, since illegal goods are very profitable. Think drugs, prostitution, illegal gambling, loan sharking, and alcohol back in the prohibition days, whatever is trending during the times. With all this racketeering money coming in, the mafia can't just outright spend this dirty money because the IRS will wonder where it's all coming from. So they'll often set up legitimate businesses to launder that money and wipe off all that excess blood away to make it look legitimate. They'll also get some legal income coming in, so it's a win-win situation. These could be stores, legal casinos in Las Vegas and Atlantic City, and many other fronts. One thing the mob does have in common with regular businesses is money. At the end of the day, it's not about honor, respect, loyalty, God, all that other stuff you see in the Godfather films. To a mafia family, the only God you worship is the holy dollar. And this is where you come in. If you want to be a mafioso and command all the status that you so desperately crave, you have to know your place in the organization. Your one and only duty is to help make the family money. More specifically, to make the head of the family, the boss or the godfather, more cash. That is literally all that matters, and there are two ways you can go about doing this. You can be an earner, someone who focuses on making money and giving it to the family while of course taking a cut of the money you earn, or you can be a killer. After all, being that the Mafia operates outside of the law, they're gonna need someone to enforce their rules and contracts to make sure they get their money. So if you're a very astute, emotionless killer, this role will be perfect for you and you can get paid very handsomely. The average person who joins the mob will typically specialize in one of these two areas, really good at making money or really good at murder. So pick your poison, but if you happen to be one of those rare breeds as great at both, vicious at the negotiating table and behind the gun, well, you have the potential for a very successful career. You may even have what it takes to someday be a godfather. Once you have an idea of what career path to take, it's time to start climbing the ranks. Just like any other well-oiled organization, the military, corporations, etc., the mob has a very well-defined hierarchy and structure that you need to climb. This is why it's called organized crime. At the bottom of the pyramid are associates, and this is where you'll start out. Any criminal organization's biggest bottleneck are people. We need great, innovative criminals to run our empire, but how do we recruit them? How do we vet them? How do we know that we can trust them? This is where associates come in. Think of yourself as an intern. You're nobody that isn't officially part of the family yet, but you're still working under official family members and helping out in their rackets. You're doing all the grunt work.
We did the grunt work for the mob bosses or the upper echelon mob guys. And those mobsters had power in those days. If they gave you an assignment, you couldn't refuse and you had to do it.
Now this may not sound like the glamorous gangster life you were hoping for, but great things take time, so view this as an opportunity to prove yourself. The goal of an associate is to eventually be initiated into the Mafia as a made man, with the next rank being a soldier. Becoming a made man is the dream of any aspiring mafioso. It means that you're officially initiated into the life, that you're a part of something bigger than yourself. You command respect, status, fear, and are considered untouchable by other criminals. If someone so much as embarrasses you, your Mafia brothers will take care of it. This is what we're working towards, so how good are you at making money for the family? How good are you at taking orders, being loyal to the family? Are you willing to kill or be killed? How good are you at navigating around people that will have you killed in a moment's notice if you said the wrong thing or offended the wrong person?
One mistake, the slightest error, you're through. They never hesitate to kill.
A lot of power plays involved that requires a lot of emotional intelligence. This is also where you'll start learning the ropes of the mob and their company culture. Out of all the rules of the mob, the biggest rule that must never be broken if you don't want to get whacked is what's called omerta. Their code of silence to never reveal the secrets of life to outsiders or authorities. This is what made the mob appear untouchable in the eyes of the public and law enforcement because they just couldn't get anyone to talk or be an informant.
Which meant that if you were prosecuting the mob, if you were investigating the mob, you really didn't have access to anybody in the inside.
The breaking of omerta is also what led to the downfall of the mob, which is a story for another video. Another interesting rule to know is that mob members never refer to themselves as the Mafia or the mob or any other incriminating name like that to keep out of the public eye and to thwart authorities. They only ever refer to themselves as La Cosa Nostra or Our Thing in Italian. In fact, for the longest time, there were doubts as to whether or not the mob even existed, and people claimed it was a mere conspiracy.
You've had a number of successes, haven't you? For example, you managed to get the Justice Department to drop the word Mafia entirely. Was that your doing?
It was the voice of all the Italian people.
Getting the Justice Department of the United States to ban the use of the word Mafia. That's pretty good political power. That is pretty good political power.
This is how good they were at staying in the shadows.
Around that time, the producer of The Godfather came to visit Joe Colombo. He sent for him, and Joey actually looked at the script of The Godfather back then. And he took any reference to the word Mafia, he pulled it out of the script.
To become an associate as a teenager is pretty simple. The mob loves grooming kids from the streets when they're young. They'll start giving you very small jobs here and there, and if they like you, they'll start giving you more and more responsibility. To be an associate as an adult is a little bit trickier. It's harder to trust you as a grown adult, and for the most part, it's better to
demonstrate your value
and how you can make them money and let them approach you. Take Joe Pistone's case. He was an undercover FBI agent posing as Donnie Brasco, a supposed jewel thief. And to become an associate, he had to hang out at the bars and restaurants the mob members visited to develop relationships for a whole 6 months before he got to work for the family.
You don't walk into a Mafia place and say, hey, you know, I'm Donnie Brasco, jewel thief. I like to start doing business with you.
Who do you know, yeah.
Who do you know?
Yeah.
Once you do become an associate, it's game time. Start making money for them, show them how ambitious you are, but not too ambitious to where you're threatening people's egos. Another thing to keep in mind is that the mob favors bloodlines. You don't have to be fully Italian to be an associate, but for the most part, you'll never be able to become a made man if you're not fully Italian or if you're connected to the law. And as you gain their trust, as you prove yourself as an earner or a killer, as you show them that you're an asset that they need in the family, it's time to become a made man. But first, we have to get our hands a little bloody. Again, the biggest vulnerability for a crime organization are its people. So even if an associate has proven themselves to the family, you need some leverage on them to make sure they stay committed for life. This is where making your bones come in. Before you become a made man, one requirement is that you have to be sponsored by an existing made man. Another requirement is that you carry out a hit, that you take the life of another human being in the name of the family. Not only will this show how serious you are about the life, but the family is going to have a potential murder conviction to hang over your head to prevent you from ever turning on them. And once you do pull that trigger and watch the life drain from their eyes, it's time for your initiation ceremony. Now you won't know when this will take place, but at a random time, you'll get a call telling you to get dressed. So you'll suit up, get picked up in a car, the car will circle around for a while to avoid any police tails, and then you'll arrive at a random location. You'll walk into a room full of mobsters and they'll ask you if you know why you're here. By now, of course you know why, but you're supposed to say no. They'll put a gun and a knife on a table to represent that you don't live by God, but that you live and die by the gun and the knife. The boss or the second in command, the underboss, will hand you a picture of a saint and prick your finger. You'll let the blood drip onto the saint, he'll light the saint on fire, and you'll swear your allegiance to the family. As this card burns, may my soul burn in hell if I betray the oath of Omerta. And boom! You've gone from associate to soldier, and now you're in the same ranks as those local gangsters you grew up idolizing. However, all those benefits of being a made man come at a cost though. The main requirement is that you put the family above all else, that if your wife was dying before your eyes and the family called you, you better leave your wife in the blink of an eye. As an official member of La Cosa Nostra, you're now free to move up the ranks. Basically, your duty is to help with the rackets and find new innovative ways to make money for the family. Here's how it works. When you were an associate, you work for soldiers and their captain, also known as a capo, which you can think of as the manager who led that crew. All the different crews in the family take orders from the next level in the chain of command, the underboss, who's kind of like the vice president that can take over if the boss is taken down. He's also kind of like the family's chief of operations that can oversee all the day-to-day happenings of the family's most lucrative rackets. And then you have the boss, also known as the Don or the Godfather. He's like the CEO of the family and has the final say on all decisions. And finally, you have the family's consigliere. This is the family's advisor and the boss's right-hand man, who's usually a trusted friend and confidant, who I'm gonna continue referring to as the advisor, being that I'm definitely butchering this. The advisor is often seen as the third in command of the family. They're also usually the mediators in disputes and are the middleman between the family and other crime families and business associates. The reason why it's set up like this is that not only does it help with being organized, but it also acts as insulation. The few at the top are insulated from the petty day-to-day crimes of those at the bottom. It's harder to prosecute them.
Colombo, as well as the other bosses, they knew they were well insulated. They had all these soldiers and all their underlings to do their criminal bidding, and they were completely untouchable.
All the crews run the rackets of the family, and as the money is made, it flows up the chain of command. Whoever made the money, let's say it's an associate, takes their cut, the associate passes the money up to the soldiers and the capo of the crew, they get their cut, and then it's passed up to be split between the underboss, boss, and the advisor. So you know how the business of the mob works, how they make money from rackets and legitimate businesses. You know your role in the Mafia, the company's culture, the code of Omerta, what they're looking for, how it's structured for insulation, and how to move up the ranks. So now it's time to get out there, start working towards becoming a made man, and being everything that your parents weren't. And who knows, maybe one day, you'll even be a godfather.
Scivola, scivola, come la pioggia scivola.
welcome to the Watch to the End Club. If you guys want more Mafia videos like this, all you have to do is let me know in the comments, because if you couldn't tell, I'm pretty into this whole organized crime business. If that is the case and you want more videos like this, you might as well subscribe, because I make video essays like this every single week for free on the most provocative stuff in the world of business. And you can always dislike and unsub whenever you want. This is also the perfect video to plug that if you want to support this channel's goal financially of making the world a more curious place, one of the best ways to do that is with our Mafia themed Patreon, the Trend Crime Family. You can start as an associate, a soldier, or go all the way in and start out as a capo. All roles of which you just learned about, which you can join with the link below. Another convenient plug is to join our community Discord server, where you can hang out with other like-minded individuals that are also into business, entrepreneurship, rackets, etc. with the link below. The more you interact in the server, the higher your social credit score will go, thanks to the Chinese government for the inspiration. Also, special shout out to the moderators that help manage the server. They're really helpful and have suggested a lot of the ideas that make it a really fun place to hang out, which you can join with the link below. But that's gonna be it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome. I've been Jake, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Che parla di un bambino che non vuol giocare.